Doctrine and Covenants 19 was received in the summer of 1829 on behalf of Martin Harris at a moment when he was struggling to make the most challenging sacrifice of his life. Here's the backstory. At the end of June or beginning of July 1829, Martin Harris had become one of the 3 special witnesses of the Book of Mormon, and, deeply invigorated by this experience, was more determined than ever to help bring forth the Book of Mormon to the world. The next steps to being able to do so at that time were first, to find a printer willing to print the manuscript, and second, to then finance that publication. And Martin was eager and ready to help with both. Over the next several weeks, Martin led out in negotiations with 4 printers. In each case, Martin told them he would personally finance the book's printing. Yet 3 out of the 4 refused to do the job, 2 of them telling Martin essentially the same thing, that this is a fool's errand. This project will fail. Nobody will buy the books, and you will lose your money. Finally, the 4th printer they approached agreed to do the job, but he was up in Rochester, New York, over 20 miles from Palmyra, where they preferred to do the printing so they could more carefully oversee the project. So they again approached E.B. Grandin, a Palmyra printer, who, seeing that the book would be published regardless of his involvement, reluctantly entered into negotiations and finally agreed to the following terms. Grandin would print and bind 5,000 copies of the book for $3,000, an inflated cost in the early 19th century. Martin Harris must agree to put up 151 acres of his land as collateral for the Book of Mormon printing, to ensure that Grandin would get paid even if the books didn't sell. Martin would have 18 months to repay the debt of $3,000, hopefully from the sales of the Book of Mormon, or else Grandin could sell off his land to recoup his costs. Grandin refused to even buy the type or begin the job until Martin had promised to ensure the payment for the printing. So sometime in late July or early August, trusting in the Lord, Martin agreed to these terms with Grandin, although he had not yet made arrangements for payment before D&C 19 was given. Around this time, the reality of the situation began to settle in upon Martin. 2 printers in the industry had told him that this project was doomed to fail and that he was likely to lose all of his money. Now, with an actual price tag on the table, and an inflated one at that, Martin realized that this agreement could cost him virtually all of his wealth. Furthermore, Martin's marriage was being strained nearly to the point of breaking, as this is exactly the kind of scenario his wife Lucy had feared, that because of his involvement with Joseph Smith, Martin would somehow end up squandering their family's wealth and life savings. As the weight of this personal sacrifice pressed in upon him, Martin's will began to falter. Grandin's typesetter, John Gilbert, later recalled, Harris became for a time in some degree staggered in his confidence, but nothing could be done in the way of printing without his aid. In this scenario, Martin sought a commandment from the Lord as he struggled to make a sacrifice of this magnitude, and Section 19 was the result. The earliest printing of this revelation introduces it only as a commandment of God and not of man to you, Martin, given by him who is eternal. So that's the backstory.